payments were done during that time. All the general payments you have to make. And it's over December. So, and that then served as corroboration for the fact that money was paid over. Because the witness in that particular case was a man called Agliotti. Now the court said that he must be one of the worst witnesses that ever set foot in a South African court of law. And what he did is, he gave evidence. He's my witness. So if you call a witness, it's your witness. Whatever he says is your case. He said to me, he said to the court, he never wanted to corrupt the commissioner. And he thinks the commissioner is uncorruptible and a very nice person. So we were really up against it. But he received money and he said, those were all loans. Is my friend finishing Clark. But the fact that there was no expenditure from any of the accounts, and the fact that he admitted, he had to admit that he paid, served as corroboration for that particular fact. But Chris wasn't done. One evening, it was on a Sunday evening, I'm sitting at my house when Chris phoned and said, he has to see me now. It was about 10 o'clock. So I said, yeah, can I please come across? Chris came across and he said, what he did over the weekend when I played golf is he investigated all the foreign currency transactions of the accused over a 3-year period. And he picked up that the accused would leave South Africa with 30,000 rand, but he'll return with 60. He leaves South Africa with 20, he'll return with 40. And that was a way of laundering money, because if you then ask him how he was able to pay his water and lights account, he'll say, it's because of the money exchange, and I got all the money back. So I thought that was just brilliant. And when we started to argue, the judge understood corruption in terms of the new act. That you don't need an agreement. I mean, you don't need a specific agreement. It could be a tacit agreement. All you need to show is an intention. The judge said all you need to show is an official accepted the gratification from any person in order to act in a manner that amounts to the abuse of his position. That's all. Not that he did anything. You don't have to prove that they reciprocated. If you give with a corrupt intent, you've committed corruption. If you receive with a corrupt intent, that is it. That is corruption. And if you understand the definition of that act in the way that the Supreme Court of Appeal understood it, corruption is not that difficult. Now, I want to read you 2 quotes. Whenever you get a lawyer to address you, there are 2 things they always do. They'll quote case law, that's the one thing. And there will be some kind of Latin term or phrase they use. Now, lucky enough, I used dolus eventualis so far, and I'll use one more later. But now it's case law. Please, if there's 2 things you take with you today, it's these 2 quotes from 2 cases. Now, first is from Celebi, where the court said, the appellant, and that's now Celebi, must have realized that Agliotti's generosity and the payments he received from him created the dynamic whereby he, in his post as head of the nation's police, would be indebted to him and would have to remain to do him favors. I mean, that covered my first scenario that I sketched. If you receive all those favors, you receive all those benefits, you know that you're in for something. Now that Judge Joffe, that's the man. Judge Joffe said in that judgment, and you can read it, Judge Joffe said, to understand corruption, you only have to know one thing, and that there's no such thing as a free lunch. And that's as easy as it is. There's just no such thing as a free lunch. In another matter, in this matter, I'll tell you that Judge Squires gave the judgment. You know who Judge Squires is? It was in Pietermaritzburg. The court said, and I'm going to use X and Y. If X could not repay, how else could he do so than by providing the help of his name and office as and when asked? And Y must have foreseen and by inference did foresee that if he made these payments, X would respond in that way. I said, absolutely brilliant. You know, nobody would ever admit to you that they committed corruption. So you always have to look at inferences. And if you can make this inference, he must have foreseen, and by inference did foresee, that if he made these payments, X would respond in that way. Y also realized the possible advantage to his business interest of providing the means to retain X's goodwill by helping him support a lifestyle beyond what he could afford on his salary. It's as easy as that. So if you see a constable at the police station arrive at the police station in a Bugatti, you know there's something wrong. And if it's a junior official at the government department in the procurement section of that department, if he arrives there with a Bugatti, there's something wrong. And it's as easy as that. He should be prosecuted. And because you look for it, you look for the reasons, but it's up to him. He should give you reasons why he was able to afford a Bugatti and where he got all the money from. Now let me just explain to you my first corruption. I did a matter in 1994. It was a hijacking and murder of a Dr. Pon at the Johannesburg General Hospital. Now, Dr. Pon came with his family, Chinese family. He was a bright and upcoming doctor, and he was hijacked and killed. So after the trial, his father came to me. He's also a doctor, Dr. Pon, and he explained to me that because of the policy in their country, which is a one-child policy, his family is now stopped. Because he was the only child, and he only had the deceased. Deceased never married, so that was the end of the Pon family, just there. And 2 months later, they arrived at my office in Johannesburg with an unbelievable tea set. The finest china you can ever hope to get. It was just brilliant. So before cell phones, so I had to wait, to show my wife later what we got. But the head of the office at that time was Advocate Klaus van Lüders and Vulkaap. If you ever heard that word. Have you heard that name? He was absolutely brilliant. At the time, they were still attorneys general. Klaus van Lüders and Vulkaap. So he called me into his office. It's a long time ago, so it's 1994. He just said, "Give it back." I said, "No, but wow, I protested it. It's 2 months later. I did whatever I could. I never knew I'll be getting gifts and things." And I said, "Give it back." Protested some more, and Klaus said, "If you don't, I will give it back." So I gave it back. It's the first lesson in corruption I've ever learned, and it's a valuable lesson. You cannot start anywhere. As a head of an office, a head of a business, you cannot allow anybody to start corruption anyway, because where will it stop? So that was my first, well, I never got it. I couldn't even open it. But it was a valuable lesson. Now, whilst I was doing the Pistorius prosecution, more than appeals, I got a phone call from the same number, over and over and over again. I avoided the media at all costs. So I avoided the phone call. Later, the man sent me SMSs saying he was Kali Kriel, he wants to talk to me. Eventually, I met Kali, who was the CEO of AfriForum, and he said to me, "Let us prosecute. If the NPA refuses to, let us do it ourselves." Typical lawyer, I said, "No, can't work, it's never happened before. Somebody would have done it if they could, so it never happened before, cannot work." And then I started thinking about this. Kali was very persistent, and we had more meetings. Now this started in August 2015, our first discussion. And then in the Constitutional Court there was the National NSPCA matter. And after